So websites tend to be pretty square, right? So far, we've been making these divs, which are effectively just rectangles to put content into. You've got your padding and margin, but everything is usually aligned at 90 degrees, and sometimes all of that squareness can be a little uninspiring. So one of the ways that we can interrupt that is we can get over into Photoshop, and then we can start to make some images that have partially transparent backgrounds. So every image technically is still going to be a rectangle. It's just that you might be able to hide part of that rectangle from the eye as long as you're using a compression scheme that supports transparency. And I'll show you two examples here. So on the one hand, I just have a photo that I've taken. And if you're not very familiar with Photoshop, you can do something simple like this. So I'll pick the elliptical marquee tool and hold down the Alt key and then the Shift key as well, and I can automatically make a little circle here. Maybe I'll hit undo and then start that a little bit lower so that my piece is centered there in the middle. So now I have a circle, and I can go up to select and inverse, and then I'll want to double click here in the layer so I convert background into an editable layer, and then I hit delete and I get something like that. Now the reason that I don't see white in the background is because indeed the background is transparent, so I get that nice little checkerboard. So now I can do this cool trick. I'll hit Command D, Command A for select all, and then copy, Command C. And if I make a new file, it will automatically be the exact number of pixels I need to paste in the material in the clipboard. So I'll hit create, Command V, and now I get that circle placed exactly within a square. I can double click on background and drag it down to the trash and delete it. Okay, now an image that's 2300 pixels across is pretty enormous, so I might head up to image size, and then change the size of this thing to something a little more manageable, like, I don't know, 500 pixels across. And if we're not constraining the proportions, I might have to write that twice. You'll notice that I have resample checked, so anytime I want to change the number of pixels in a file by working in this manner, I'll need to check resample. So I can hit OK. It's also possible you can do this by just hitting Shift Option Command W, because that export step also gives you an opportunity to set the pixel dimensions. But sometimes if you import an image into here that's enormous, this just takes forever. Now you'll see by default the background has come up as white, and that's because currently our format is JPEG. So a JPEG, which is good for photographic material, does not support transparency, so transparency is converted to white. But if I switch this instead to GIF, and that's right, I'm telling you it's pronounced GIF, or PNG, PNG is a lot more high quality. As long as you have transparency checked, you'll see that reverts back to the checkerboard. Okay, so I'm going to save this little image at 500 by 500, however you want to get there. So I'll save this as greeny.png, and we'll save this inside the directory where I'm currently working. So you'll notice index and my style are sitting here. There's a fonts folder. We're also going to make a media folder, and I'll save greeny.png in there and export it. Okay, now for those of you that are a little more comfortable with Photoshop and you might want to get a little more complex, here's an example of an etching that I made, and I came through and I made a path with the pen tool. I won't go into the pen tool here, but whatever tools you use, you want to get down to a marching ants selection. So from the pen, I'll right click and then say stroke path. Oh wait, hang on, what am I doing? I'll right click and say make selection, maybe a 1 pixel feathering radius. And then again, we select inverse, double click the background, and delete. Command D to deselect, Command A, Command C, Command N for new, create, and Command V. Double click the background, drag it to the trash. And then now I can Command W or Shift, Shift Option Command W. And this one's coming in a little more petite, so I'm just heading straight to the export window. Now let's make the height on this thing, 500, so that we're more in keeping with our previous image, greeny. I'll export this one also as a PNG, and we'll just call this hand.png, also exported to our media folder. Okay, so I'm going to quit out of Photoshop. I don't know if you can hear the fans on my computer going crazy over here. Don't save, don't save, don't save all these pictures of pizza that'll come up later. All right, so here we are. We've messed around with add font face. Let's go ahead and start to make some more alterations to our site so it's not so horrible to look at, this Pepto-Bismol pink. I'll go over to Atom, and I want to create a new div. So we have our container, which holds kind of everything and centers it. We have our content box, which holds like those individual posts. So let's make what I'm going to call the hero-image. And that's kind of way of saying, this is the image that's really going to lead us into the site. We will want to pick up our display flex justify content center. And then if we want, we can put a background in here just so that we can see what it's doing. I'll make that a black background. I'm not going to give it a size yet. I'll head back over to index, and up here above our unordered list, I will say div ID equals hero image. And then I will close that out. We'll put something in there as well, which will be an image file, and we're going to tab that over, right, to show that it's contained. So img src equals, and remember now that we're starting from our index page and we have to navigate to our media folder. So I'll say media slash, and then let's try greeny.png to start. The image tag is one of those strange ones, whoops, where you don't actually have to open the image tag and close it. It just does everything in one line, just like DuckType. Okay, if I save this and I head back over to my index, right-click to reveal in Finder, and here it is, although I could probably just head to Firefox and reload it. So there's our image right there. Now that image is looking huge, and it's got that black background because that is the part of the div, the centering div, that organizes it, that holds it in place, but we're not actually going to see that once we take the color away because we're using a transparent image. So if I head back over here, let's see here, let's go to My Style. We'll take the background color out, and then we're also going to say, here's a new thing for you. If I say hero-image space img, that means that the rule that I'm about to write will only apply to IMG tags that are contained within hero image. So sometimes it's useful to use more than one qualifier so that you target a very specific element for change. And in this case, we will say width is maybe 250 pixels and height is 250 because we know this thing is square. So if I were to make the div 250 by 250, the centering wouldn't work correctly. So sometimes we have to nest these instructions like so. Okay, so I'll head back over here and reload it. And you can see we've taken away the background color, so now we see back through to that Pepto-Bismol pink. And we also keep things centered right above this content down here.